Another schedule that I need to produce for my project is a door schedule. I've created a sheet here that I'm going to place my door schedule in. So to create my door schedule, I can right click on Schedules and Quantities here and click New Schedule and Quantities, which, if you'll remember, is the same as going to View, Schedules, Schedule and Quantities. I'll scroll down to select Doors, and I'll call this Door Schedule. And now I'm just going to filter this just by ground floor for this schedule, so I'm going to call this schedule ground floor. Click OK. So these are the available fields from the doors. So I know that I want to filter it by level, so I'm going to add the level property into there. I also know I want to have the type mark, the individual door number, so the actual mark, which is tagged on my drawings. I'll move that parameter up. I also want to have the width and the height, and also I want to add the fire rating. So I'm going to filter by level equals ground floor. I'm then going to sort by the mark. I'm going to itemize every instance. Go to formatting, and I will hide level. Click OK. And here is my door schedule listing each door with the mark, then the type mark, which could refer to a door type schedule, which I could create later, and then the width and the height and the fire rating. You can see the NFR means not fire rated, and I have FR20, FR60. Just close this schedule, and then I'll click and drag this door schedule that's appeared here onto my sheet, like so. Okay, if I double click onto the door schedule again to open it and go back into fields, you'll see that under the available fields from doors, if I click on the drop down, I can get the information from the from room and the to room. So this is very useful when it comes to scheduling doors, because I can actually add the from room information, so the number property here, I can add that, and I can also add the to room information, and I can also add the number for that room. I can hold Control and select these two attributes and move them up, and then if I click OK, you'll see how it's added the from room number, so the door in which you leave, into which the door you arrive through this door. So I can group these headers to call it location, and I can just delete the header there, and I can select all these headings and just align them to the left. So you can see now that this door 101A, is from room 101, but it goes to a blank room. If I select this column, go to my ground floor plan, you'll see that this door, as it's highlighted here, actually goes from this vestibule, which is room 101. However, there is not a room in here. That is why this schedule is picking it up blank. If I wanted to, I could actually put the to-room information as 101 instead, if I wish to schedule this as you're coming from the external space here into the vestibule. As you can see that the direction of the opening, the from room is on the push side and the to room is on the pull side by default. So I can just change that back to blank. If I wanted to add this in as an actual room, I would have to create and place a new room in this area here. If I pick another door, say D103, select that in select the row in the schedule, go back to the ground floor, zoom out, you can see that this door here is leading from corridor 107 to conference room 103. So leaving from room 107 to conference room 103. So that's a useful property of door schedules that you can use to identify the location of each door. Now that we've got this basic door schedule, I need to add more information to each of my doors. And I need to add a piece of information that is not available by default within doors. I want to add an instance parameter for access control. So therefore I need to add a new parameter to my project. So if I go to the Manage tab and select Project Parameters, this is where I can add new parameters that will apply to every element of the relevant category that the parameter is applied to. So let's go and create one now. I will click Add, and I get the Parameter Properties dialog box appear here. So I can either create a project parameter, and this type of parameter can appear in schedules but not in tags, or I can create a shared parameter which can be shared by multiple projects and families, exported to ODBC, and appear in schedules and tags. So if I only had one building and I didn't want my parameter to appear in any tags, I could use the project parameter. However, because, as discussed in previous lectures, this building is part of a master site of buildings and we may wish to use the information through linked models, I have to create a shared parameter. Now a shared parameter is a parameter that is kept externally from Revit in a text file that has an individual unique identifier that Revit will then recognize when it is used in multiple projects and families, so that it will schedule it all within the same column. So if I click on shared parameter, you see I cannot type in any of the information. So if I click select, you'll see that I have already got a shared parameter file with the room information that I used in previous lectures. If I go to edit, you can see that the edit shared parameter, this is the location for my shared parameter file. Now you may not have this shared parameter file on your computer yourself. However, you can browse and locate it in the downloadable content for this lecture, or you can create your own. So I've got a parameter group here called rooms. I'm going to create a new group. I'll just call this doors. Click OK. So you can see I now have two groups. I'm going to create a new parameter. I'm going to call this access control. The type is going to be a yes/no parameter because it's just going to be a tick box yes or no parameter. Click OK. So once I've created it, I can now click on the properties of this parameter, but you see I cannot change it. And this is because if you created the parameter and then applied it to projects or families and then changed the type of parameter, Revit could not consolidate the different types of parameter. So the only way to then change the type of parameter would be to delete the parameter and create a new with the correct type, which you would then have to implement within all the projects or families that the new parameter or the old parameter was associated to. So be very careful when it comes to choosing the type of parameter for shared parameters. I'll click OK, and now you can see in the shared parameter file I have the doors drop down. You can open the shared parameter file as it is a text file, and you can see I have opened it here in a notepad reader. You can see that it describes this is a Revit shared parameter file. Do not edit manually, so you should not do any edits to the file in the text editor. You can see how I have these two groups that I have made, and then you can see the global unique identifier here that Revit uses to identify the actual parameter across multiple projects. I then have the new access control parameter that I've used, and you can see that is a yes/no parameter. So this is just a quick introduction to the format of the shared parameter file. So I'll head back to Revit now. In my shared parameters list, I can go into the parameter group doors, select access control, click OK, and you can see that it is now filled in the access control control name and the type, as this is all defined by the shared parameter in the shared parameter file. I'm going to group the parameter under identity data. I want to keep it as instance because it will be unique to each individual instance of the door depending on its security requirements. And in the categories list, I'm going to scroll down and just select doors. I'll then click OK, and you can see how I now have the access control parameter added to my project parameters. Click OK. If I click a door, you can see that the access control parameter has been added here, and I have a grayed out tick box which shows that this parameter has yet to be effectively clicked or completed. So I know that the lounge will have access control, so I can click on this door, click the access control to activate the parameter effectively, and you can see that it's now ticked yes, and if I untick it, it'll tick no. And I'll show you how that's represented on a schedule now. So if I go back to my door schedule, I can go to fields. You can see how access control has now been added to the list of available fields. I can add it to the scheduled fields, click OK, and you can see how it is. These are all grayed out by default as they have not been activated. If I go to my door schedule sheet, you can see that the grayed out ones that weren't activated are blank, and the access control has, for the door going to the lounge, has activated to say yes. If I double click on this and I untick the parameter and go back to the door schedule, you see that it says no. And these are the only two options that are available in this access control. So if you wanted to add any notes about access control, you would have to add a new parameter called access control notes and have it as a text format or text type of parameter, as this parameter is a simple yes or no. So I can then go back to my ground floor and I could choose another room here, such as the conference, and tick that access control, and then the toilet, say I could untick it as no. Go back to my door schedule sheet and you can see that the parameters have been completed in here. So that is how to add new parameters and shared parameters and the difference between them to a schedule and project within Revit.